started with our first news. Just 1 week remains before the highly anticipated UFC 320 card, a blockbuster event featuring 2 title fights. Among the most talked about bouts is the co-main event clash between reigning champion Merab Dvalishvili and the always dangerous contender, Cory Sandhagen. The fight has been gaining serious momentum, with both men firing verbal shots and laying down their claims to victory. Sandhagen, known for his sharp striking and creative offense, recently made a bold statement on Instagram, promising fans that he would finally walk away with UFC gold. This declaration wasn't just a message to the fans but a direct warning to the champion himself. Dvalishvili, however, has shown no signs of intimidation. Instead, he has doubled down on his promise to stand and trade with Sandhagen on the feet, a surprising development considering Dvalishvili's relentless wrestling style is what carried him to the top of the division. At first, many fans believed Dvalishvili's comments were nothing more than mind games. After all, why would one of the most dominant grapplers in the sport abandon the style that made him champion? But the narrative shifted when his longtime coach, Ray Longo, revealed that Dvalishvili has been evolving his game in all areas. According to Longo, Merab has made significant improvements in his striking and may even carry the knockout power to finish Sandhagen if the fight turns into a stand-up war. That revelation immediately sparked intrigue within the MMA community. Could Dvalishvili really choose to test his hands against one of the most dynamic strikers in the division? Or would he stick to his proven blueprint, using suffocating pressure and endless takedown attempts to drown his opponent? Ray Longo emphasized that the Dvalishvili entering UFC 320 is a different animal altogether. This camp, he said, has transformed the champion into a more complete fighter. While Merab's trademark grit and gas tank will always be his strongest assets, Longo believes that his expanded arsenal could surprise even the most prepared version of Sandhagen. As for Sandhagen, Longo was quick to give respect where it's due. "I've always been a big Sandhagen fan," Longo admitted. "I like his attitude, I like his approach, and I know how dangerous he is. This is his big opportunity, and he knows it. You can't go to sleep on a guy like Cory Sandhagen." Still, Longo was clear about the magnitude of the task at hand for the challenger. Calling it a Herculean challenge, he pointed out that Sandhagen's only real chance lies in slowing down the relentless freight train that is Merab Dvalishvili. Few fighters have been able to handle Merab's pace, and if Sandhagen cannot impose his striking early, the fight could turn into a grueling battle of attrition. The storyline heading into UFC 320 is clear. Will Dvalishvili stick to the game plan that made him champion, or is he truly ready to showcase a striking evolution that catches Sandhagen off guard? If he chooses the latter, the MMA world could be witnessing a brand new dimension of the champion's skill set. Either way, fans are in for a high-stakes showdown between two of the bantamweight division's most exciting fighters. Before moving on to the next news, we have a quick request for you. We're always working to improve our content and truly value your support. If you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon, it would mean a lot to us. That way, you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Alex Pereira has opened up about his first encounter with Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 313, offering insights into why that night didn't reflect his true abilities. In a candid admission, the Brazilian powerhouse revealed he was operating at just 40% of his full capacity due to a difficult training camp and personal struggles leading up to the bout. The fight itself was already clouded in controversy. While Pereira battled through what he described as one of the roughest pre-fight preparations of his career, Ankalaev voiced his own frustrations. During the match, he told his corner that Pereira felt too slippery in the clinch and grappling exchanges, suggesting the Brazilian may have been greased. Though Ankalaev stopped short of making a direct accusation, his comments added fuel to an already heated rivalry. Despite the complaints, the statistics tell a different story. Ankalaev, a decorated Dagestani wrestler, failed to secure a single takedown against Pereira. Instead, it was Pereira who surprised fans by managing an unofficial takedown of his own right after the bell at the end of a round, something few expected from the striker-turned-champion. This unexpected reversal raised even more questions about Ankalaev's performance and set the stage for a rematch with higher stakes. With UFC 320 approaching, both men are once again on a collision course. For Pereira, the rematch represents an opportunity not only to defend his light heavyweight supremacy but also to prove to himself and the world that his first performance against Ankalaev was far from his best. "Honestly, I was about 40% on that night," Pereira admitted. "I'm actually even surprised I was able to fight the way I did under everything that was going on with me. Of course, course, I'm not happy with the loss, but knowing my potential and how I fought under those conditions, it gives me confidence. This time, I'll leave no doubt. That confidence seems to be grounded in the belief that even a modest improvement in his condition could swing the outcome. Pereira emphasized that if he shows up at even 50%, the additional energy and sharpness could make a huge difference. His focus now is on silencing doubters, putting the controversy behind him, and delivering a performance that fully represents his true skill set. For Ankalaev, the stakes are just as high. Known for his stoic demeanor and crushing wrestling base, the Dagestani contender is hungry to prove he can not only neutralize Pereira's striking but also impose his will and begin his own reign as light heavyweight champion. His claims about Pereira's alleged greasing and his inability to secure takedowns in their first encounter have only fueled his determination to set the record straight. This rematch is more than just another title fight. It's a clash of styles, narratives, and reputations that could reshape the light heavyweight division. Pereira is out to prove that his 40% effort still left an impression, and that a healthier, sharper version of himself will dominate. Ankalaev, meanwhile, seeks redemption and the chance to cement his legacy. When the cage door closes at UFC 320, all the talk will end, and the truth about who reigns supreme at light heavyweight will finally be decided. Move on to another news. Jon Jones has never been one to hold back, and once again the former light heavyweight king made headlines with a sharp jab at an old rival. On Saturday night at UFC Perth, Dominic Reyes' attempt at a career resurgence came to a devastating halt when Carlos Ulberg knocked him out in brutal fashion. The loss not only raised questions about Reyes' future but also opened the door for Ulberg to stake his claim as a true contender at 205 pounds. Ulberg, representing City Kickboxing, delivered one of the most emphatic finishes of his career. From the opening bell, he showcased speed, precision, and composure, leaving Reyes little room to recover once the damage began to mount. By the time the knockout came, the result was undeniable. Ulberg had announced himself as a serious force in the division and potentially the next in line for a title shot. As the dust settled, Jon Jones seized the moment to reignite his rivalry with Reyes. During the UFC's live post-fight press conference on Instagram, Jones dropped a cutting remark that instantly went viral. Typing into the comment feed, he asked, "Did Dominic win again?" The jab was both sarcastic and deliberate, referencing Reyes' long-standing insistence that he deserved the judge's nod when the two fought for the title back in 2020. For Reyes, the loss could not have come at a worse time. Once considered the man who came closest to dethroning Jones, his career trajectory has been marked by setbacks and knockout losses in recent years. Many fans are now speculating whether Saturday's result might signal the end of his UFC journey. While no official retirement announcement has been made, the brutal knockout has undeniably placed his future in jeopardy. Meanwhile, Ulberg wasted no time in staking his claim for bigger opportunities. Speaking after the fight, he made it clear that he's ready for a title shot or, at the very least, to serve as the backup for the upcoming championship bout between Jiří Procházka and Khalil Rountree. "I am prepared to be a backup for next week," Ulberg said. "Fly me to Vegas and I'll be there. I'm not going to eat or drink anything today. I'll spend time with family, but if they need me, I'll be ready." While UFC officials have not yet confirmed his role for the upcoming title fight, Ulberg revealed that conversations with matchmaker Hunter Campbell are already underway. He emphasized his commitment to staying in shape and maintaining his weight in case the call comes. His dominant performance against Reyes, combined with his willingness to step in on short notice, could very well catapult him into the title picture. The light heavyweight division remains one of the UFC's most unpredictable landscapes. Procházka and Rountree are set to battle for supremacy, but both men have already fallen short in previous title bids. Ulberg, on the other hand, represents fresh blood, an exciting, dangerous challenger who has strung together highlight reel wins. As for Jones, his comments may have been savage, but they also highlighted just how far the once promising Reyes has fallen. From nearly defeating the greatest light heavyweight of all time to being mocked after yet another knockout, the contrast is stark. For Ulberg, however, the story is just beginning. If his performance at UFC Perth is any indication, the 205-pound division may soon have a new name at the top of the contender list. Move on to another news. Michael Chandler has addressed the uncertainty surrounding Conor McGregor's fighting future, and his words reveal both respect and lingering desire for what could have been one of the biggest fights in UFC history. Speaking candidly, Chandler admitted he would be at peace if McGregor never returns to the octagon, but he still holds out hope for the blockbuster matchup, especially with the UFC's historic White House event looming on the horizon. "If he never comes back, never fights again, I wish him well in retirement," retirement, Chandler said. "I'll always support him if he ever needs me for anything. But make no mistake about it, I would love the chance to punch him in the face inside the octagon at the White House." Chandler's comments reflect the duality of his mindset. On one hand, he recognizes McGregor's legendary status in the sport and understands that the Irish superstar may never compete again after years of inactivity, injuries, and outside ventures. On the other hand, Chandler's competitive spirit still burns bright, and the idea of facing McGregor in front of the White House during what promises to be one of the UFC's most iconic cards is a dream scenario he refuses to let go of. The lightweight contender painted a vivid picture of what that night would mean to him. "I want to get my hand raised with the stars and stripes draped around me, kiss my wife, collect my paycheck, and then go celebrate with America." It's a statement that encapsulates Chandler's patriotic pride and his showman's instinct. More than just a fight, he sees this potential clash as a moment that could transcend MMA and become a cultural milestone. For Chandler, who has been patiently waiting since the UFC announced he would coach The Ultimate Fighter opposite McGregor back in early 2023, the long delay has been a test of patience. Fans expected the matchup to happen months ago, but repeated postponements and questions about McGregor's health have left the fight in limbo. Despite the uncertainty, Chandler has remained ready, training consistently and keeping his name in the headlines. McGregor, meanwhile, has kept fans guessing. From cryptic social media posts to occasional teases of a comeback, the former two-division champion has done little to provide clarity about his future. The White House card, marking the UFC's celebration of America's 250th anniversary, would be the perfect stage for his return, but whether he accepts remains unknown. Chandler's acceptance of McGregor potentially walking away speaks to his maturity as both a fighter and a man. "At the end of the day, I'll be okay if he never fights again," he reiterated. "But if he does, and if it's me standing across from him at the White House, that's the storybook ending I've been waiting for." As UFC 320 approaches and the hype around the White House event builds, Chandler remains in the spotlight. Whether McGregor shows up or not, Chandler's message is clear. He's ready for the fight, he's ready for the moment, and he's ready to etch his name in history. Move on to another news. In one of the wildest and most shocking combat sports moments of the year, MMA legend Wanderlei Silva found himself not only disqualified during his boxing match at Spartan Fight Night 2 in Brazil but also brutally knocked out in a post-fight brawl that erupted inside the ring. The bout marked Silva's return to combat sports for the first time since September 2018, when he was stopped by Quinton "Rampage" Jackson at Bellator 260. Fans were eager to see the Axe Murderer back in action, but what unfolded was chaos from start to finish. Silva faced Brazilian boxing veteran Acilino Freitas in the main event. From the opening rounds, the contest was messy, with Silva committing multiple fouls that repeatedly halted the action. The referee initially deducted points, but after Silva was penalized 3 times for infractions, he was ultimately disqualified. What should have been the end of the night's drama quickly escalated into an all-out melee. Tensions flared between Silva's camp and Freitas' team, spilling into the ring in a violent post-fight brawl. During the scuffle, Silva was blindsided and knocked out cold by a member of Freitas' entourage, a stunning image that immediately went viral. Video footage captured the surreal moment, showing Silva crumpling to the canvas as shocked fans and officials attempted to break up the fracas. The MMA community reacted swiftly and passionately to the disturbing scenes. Former UFC contender Chael Sonnen, never one to miss an opportunity for a sharp remark, tweeted, "Wanderlei Silva knocked out cold by a man wearing a tuxedo. True story." Fellow coach Firas Zahabi kept his reaction simple, calling the moment crazy. UFC lightweight Terrence McKinney echoed fans' disbelief, posting, "No way." Others expressed concern about the image the incident projected for combat sports in Brazil. Rising UFC middleweight Caio Borralho criticized the fiasco, writing, "All this time the sport fighting for people to see us as decent and civilized beings. For this? Imagine now being a fighter and wanting sponsorship from a big brand in Brazil, and them having this embarrassment from today as a reference. The athletes lose a lot with this." Silva, a pioneer of Pride Fighting Championships and a former UFC fan favorite, is revered for his ferocious fighting style and violent finishes. But in recent years, he has struggled with both age and declining performances. The spectacle in Brazil has left many questioning whether this was his final appearance in any form of combat sports. For Freitas, the fight itself should have been a celebration of victory. Instead, it was overshadowed by the chaos that erupted after the disqualification. The brawl, compounded by Silva's knockout at the hands of a cornerman rather than an opponent, has become one of the most talked about controversies of the year. Ultimately, what was meant meant to be a nostalgic return for a legend ended in embarrassment and violence. Rather than headlines about Silva's comeback, the story has become a sobering reminder of how quickly combat sports can descend into disorder, and how the reputation of athletes and the sport itself can be damaged in the process. Move on to another news. Former two-division champion Henry Cejudo believes that, despite his public stance, UFC CEO Dana White will eventually give in to Jon Jones' demands to fight at the highly anticipated UFC White House event. The historic card is expected to take place in June 2026, just ahead of America's 250th Independence Day celebration, a moment designed to blend sports spectacle with national pride on the White House lawn. Jon Jones, himself a former two-division champion and widely regarded as perhaps the greatest fighter in UFC history, had officially announced his retirement in June. Yet his decision was short-lived. When former President Donald Trump unveiled plans for the UFC to host an event at the White House, Jones quickly hinted at a return. The possibility of Jones fighting under such a historic backdrop has electrified fans, but the idea has also been met with hesitation at the executive level. Dana White, never one to mince words, has downplayed the likelihood of Jones being part of the event. He called it a 1,000,000,000 chance, pointing to Jones' turbulent past. Legal troubles, run-ins with law enforcement, and a string of drug test failures have cast a long shadow over Jones' otherwise unparalleled career. On multiple occasions, these issues disrupted major UFC events and forced last-minute changes to cards, damaging the company's reputation and costing millions in lost opportunities. Cejudo, however, takes a different view. Speaking on the Pound for Pound podcast, he said he believes White will eventually relent. President Dana White is going to cave in, Cejudo stated confidently. He's going to give Jon Jones that opportunity. I understand Dana's point too, because Jon Jones is a bit of a wild card. Something could always happen. His legal record speaks volumes. And I love Jon, but let's speak the facts. In Cejudo's eyes, the financial and promotional upside of Jones fighting at the White House would be too enticing for White to pass up. A spectacle of that magnitude, with Jones' name on the marquee, would not only bring mainstream attention but also cement the UFC's place in the cultural history of the United States' 250th anniversary celebration. Cejudo suggests that White's pragmatism and business instincts will eventually outweigh his concerns about Jones' volatility. For now, though, the UFC White House event remains in its earliest planning stages. Much of the discussion has centered on logistics, budgeting, security, and the massive undertaking required to stage an MMA card on the White House lawn. Booking fighters is still considered strictly theoretical, yet that hasn't stopped big names from stepping forward. Alongside Jon Jones, Conor McGregor has vowed to be part of the event, with several other marquee fighters also expressing interest. The potential lineup hints at one of the most extraordinary spectacles in combat sports history. Whether Dana White maintains his hardline stance or bends to the demands of superstars like Jones could determine how memorable the event truly becomes. If Cejudo's prediction is correct, fans might witness Jon Jones stepping back into the octagon, not just for another fight, but for an unforgettable moment woven into the fabric of American history.